Karen's saxophone. He poured his soul into music, lost in the city's noise. Watch Karen fight past failures and rivals for his sister's life. But will one viral video be enough, or will his past silence him forever? The subterranean wind, thick with the scent of damp concrete and exhaust fumes, conducted Karen's saxophone lament through the underpass's echoing throat. Each phrase, a meticulously polished shard of his diminishing hope, resonated against the grime-streaked tiles, a stark contrast to the hurried footsteps of commuters absorbed by glowing screens, their collars upturned against the indifferent urban chill. He played less for the infrequent clink of coins in his worn case, and more for the syncopated rhythm stubbornly persisting within him, a fragile countermelody to the city's overwhelming mechanical pulse. Music remained his soul's sanctuary, his non-judgmental confessor, the only dialect in which his soul felt articulate. Yet the persistent ache of hunger mirrored a deeper internal void, a constant unwelcome reminder of overdue notices and the pervasive anxiety surrounding his younger sister, Lyra. Her laughter, once a bright cascade, now felt thin, brittle, overshadowed by the illness that clung to their cramped apartment like persistent mold. He required not merely spare change, but a profound intervention, a miracle scored for brass and reeds, a fortissimo passage to wrench them from this suffocating minor key existence threatening daily obliteration. Karen methodically disassembled his saxophone, the cool brass imprinting its chill onto his fingertips through the threadbare fabric of his gloves. The collected currency, a meager handful of bills and coins, possessed a specific gravity, far exceeding its face value, weighted by the crushing certainty of its inadequacy against the looming financial precipice. Lyra's escalating medical expenses constituted an insurmountable peak, his earnings merely insignificant scree at its vast base. The memory of that catastrophic audition years prior surfaced unbidden, the singular public rejection that had effectively throttled his nascent ambition, leaving only this desolate street corner threnody as his remaining voice. Self-doubt formed a dissonant, recurring motif within his life's intricate score. Was this pursuit merely self-delusion, an endless chase of an ethereal dream, while tangible reality constricted around him? The prospect of secure, albeit soul-numbing, employment beckoned with the deceptive allure of stability, a siren song urging the abandonment of the instrument that felt intrinsically fused to his very breath. He trudged toward the subway's maw, the saxophone case's heft matched by the immense psychic burden upon his shoulders, distant city lights fracturing into abstract, indifferent streaks through his fatigued gaze, each footfall a percussive echo of the failure narrative he could not fully exorcise from his consciousness. From the expansive window of the daily grind, her modest independent coffee house situated strategically between a perpetually humming laundromat and a melancholic pawnbroker's establishment, Serafina observed Karen's departure from the underpass. His plaintive melodies had frequently permeated her space, weaving a bittersweet auditory tapestry into the fabric of her early morning rituals of brewing and serving. An undeniable, untamed talent resided in his playing, a profound vulnerability that seemed to echo the city's own concealed sorrows and unspoken griefs. She possessed an intimate understanding of the arduous path trod by artists within this demanding metropolis, the relentless, draining conflict between creative imperatives and the stark realities of economic survival. Methodically wiping down the gleaming chrome of the espresso machine, a quiet resolve solidified within her. The next instant his music reached her ears, she determined to offer something more substantive than passive sympathy or a complimentary steaming beverage. Her shop contained a small, neglected corner adjacent to the window, frequently bathed in the warm luminescence of the afternoon sun. Perhaps, she mused, a different context, a more receptive audience, a warmer, more embracing environment, could provide the crucial fragment of genuine validation he so visibly required, a tangible opportunity to finally project his voice above the subterranean vibrations and the ceaseless current of anonymous humanity flowing past, utterly oblivious to his art. The subsequent afternoon found Karen lingering hesitantly before the inviting threshold of the daily grind. Serafina's unanticipated proposition felt akin to a sturdy rescue line cast into dangerously churning waters, yet his deeply conditioned fear of scrutiny and potential disappointment anchored him momentarily to the pavement. Performing within the anonymous echo chamber of the underpass offered a certain protective obscurity. Failure there remained essentially unwitnessed, absorbed by indifferent concrete and shadow. Inside the cafe's cozy embrace, surrounded by patrons casually engaged in sipping beverages and interacting with sleek electronic devices, felt intensely exposed, almost terrifyingly transparent. He gripped his saxophone case, its familiar, substantial mass a paradoxical source of both solace and burdensome reminder of his aspirations and tribulations. Inhaling deeply, the air a curious blend of roasted coffee aromatics and urban effluvia, he finally propelled himself through the glass door. A wave of enveloping warmth met him, a stark, almost startling contrast to the biting wind he habitually endured. Serafina acknowledged his entrance immediately with a smile radiating genuine reassurance, gesturing kindly toward the corner she had thoughtfully prepared. It lacked the grandeur of any formal stage, yet it registered as a profoundly significant advancement, a tentative, hopeful modulation within his predominantly somber personal narrative, a chance he intuitively recognized as imperative to seize for Lyra's well-being, even if not entirely for his own immediate peace of mind at that precise juncture. He initiated his performance tentatively, the initial notes weaving with delicate precision through the cafe's gentle ambient soundscape of murmuring conversation and ceramic clatter. Heads gradually pivoted, quiet dialogues paused expectantly. The room's acoustics were markedly distinct here, warmer, possessing a significantly enhanced intimacy compared to the harsh reverberations of the underpass. Karen perceived the initial constriction around his chest subtly relaxing, permitting a less encumbered breath. He was no longer mere auditory background filler. Individuals were actively listening, truly attending with discernible focus. A nearby elderly woman gently closed her eyes, a faint, serene smile gracing her features as the melody enveloped her senses. Across the room, a young student tapped his pen almost subliminally, maintaining perfect synchronicity with the saxophone's fluid rhythm. Serafina observed intently from her station behind the counter, her expression an open beacon of encouragement. He ventured into repertoire he had previously hesitated to unveil in the underpass's anonymity. Intricate, technically demanding melodies, profoundly soulful improvisations that articulated complex emotions of longing, irretrievable loss, and the stubbornly resilient embers of the human spirit. For the first instance in what felt like an eternity, the music resonated less as a desperate, unheard supplication, and far more as a genuine, reciprocal dialogue, a shared, ephemeral moment of authentic human connection forged within the vast, impersonal urban expanse, a fragile bridge meticulously constructed note by careful note across the deep chasm of his persistent self-doubt and paralyzing apprehension. Days imperceptibly coalesced into weeks, and Karen's designated alcove at the daily grind steadily evolved into an anticipated, regular fixture for the cafe's diverse clientele. His self-assurance incrementally expanded with each acknowledging nod, each coin discreetly deposited into his saxophone case, now positioned unobtrusively near the entryway. Each softly uttered expression of gratitude offered by departing customers visibly touched by his music. Serafina frequently provided him with supplementary sandwiches or freshly baked goods, small yet profoundly meaningful gestures of kindness that anchored him during this precarious phase. His savings began to accumulate more substantially, although Lyra's relentlessly escalating medical expenses continued to cast a long, ominous shadow over his prospects. One particularly sodden Tuesday afternoon, a young woman intently recorded his performance on her smartphone, utterly mesmerized by a particularly poignant, emotionally charged interpretation of a timeless blues standard he was rendering. Karen remained largely unaware of her focused attention, thoroughly immersed within the music's intricate architecture, his eyes shut tightly in concentration, fingers executing complex passages with effortless grace across the saxophone's keys. He failed to witness her subsequent uploading of the video later that evening, accompanied by a concise, heartfelt annotation. "This musician at the daily grind just fractured my heart and seamlessly reassembled it." Remarkable, the sprawling digital realm, often mirroring the indifference of the underpass commuters, was poised to intervene unexpectedly, altering the trajectory of his life in ways utterly beyond his current capacity to foresee or comprehend. The brief video clip proliferated across digital networks with the velocity of wildfire. Initially disseminated among hyperlocal online community forums, its reach rapidly transcended these parochial confines, captivating a significantly broader viewership. Individuals found themselves irresistibly drawn to the raw, unvarnished emotion palpable in Karen's playing, the technical proficiency undeniably evident despite the inherent limitations of the smartphone's basic audio capture. Comments inundated the video's hosting page with astonishing speed. "Where is this extraordinary venue located? His musical expression resonates directly with the core of my being. Somebody must offer this exceptionally gifted individual a recording contract immediately." Karen persisted in his state of blissful ignorance regarding his burgeoning virtual renown, maintaining unwavering focus on his established daily rhythm, performing his sets at the cafe, visiting Lyra either at the hospital or their shared dwelling, practicing diligently late into the nocturnal stillness within the restrictive dimensions of their cramped apartment. It ultimately fell to Serafina to finally apprise him of the startling development, excitedly displaying the view counter on the video, its numbers rapidly ascending into the tens, then staggeringly into the hundreds of thousands. He stared blankly at the illuminated screen, profound disbelief warring intensely within him against a sudden, vertiginous upwelling of unfamiliar, almost frightening hope. Could this conceivably represent the pivotal moment? The significant breakthrough he had long since disciplined himself to cease imagining? The abrupt onslaught of intense scrutiny felt overwhelming, bordering on surreal, akin to deciphering a complex harmonic progression played unexpectedly in an alien key, simultaneously exhilarating and terrifyingly disorienting after protracted years spent dwelling deliberately in obscurity. The viral phenomenon yielded far more than transient online plaudits and ephemeral digital chatter. It attracted substantial attention, encompassing both genuinely auspicious opportunities and decidedly unwelcome intrusions. Electronic messages began filtering into the cafe's general inbox, diligently forwarded to him by Serafina, invitations for local performances at intimate venues, requests for interviews from independent music-focused publications, and one particularly compelling communication from a well-regarded independent record label celebrated for nurturing distinctive artistic voices. Elation immediately clashed with deeply ingrained trepidation within his psyche. This represented the precise category of prospect he had once fervently yearned for. Yet the persistent specter of his past public failure whispered insidious cautionary tales in his mind's ear, evoking the sting of potential humiliation. Subsequently, another message arrived, one that induced a visceral chill the instant he registered the sender's identity. It originated from Reese, a technically proficient guitarist from his past, a bitter antagonist from the fiercely competitive local music circuit, whose intense drive often manifested as overt antagonism. Reese had been a direct witness to Karen's calamitous audition, observing his public degradation firsthand. The message adopted a deceptively nonchalant tone, ostensibly offering congratulations on his abrupt descent to fame, but Karen effortlessly discerned the simmering resentment concealed beneath the polished surface, the implicit menace lurking just below the thin facade of polite, seemingly benign verbiage. Reese wasted little time manifesting his unwelcome influence beyond the dispatch of cryptic, unsettling digital communiques. He commenced making deliberate appearances at the daily grind, pointedly positioning himself near Karen's performance space, his countenance a meticulously calibrated blend of feigned approbation and smug condescension that severely grated on Karen's already frayed nerves. He would deliver subtle, incisive remarks artfully veiled as compliments, casually referencing Karen's prior professional setbacks, pointedly invoking the notorious audition debacle directly in the presence of Serafina and the steadily expanding assembly of new listeners drawn to the establishment by the considerable online fervor surrounding the video. Reese's methodology was insidious and precisely calibrated, specifically engineered to relentlessly erode Karen's nascent, fragile self-belief, to sow toxic seeds of uncertainty just as circumstances were finally beginning to appear genuinely auspicious for him. Karen exerted maximum effort to disregard him entirely, concentrating fiercely on his musical execution, channeling his escalating frustration and simmering resentment directly into the saxophone's expressive voice. Yet Reese's mere physical proximity constituted a jarringly discordant element within the otherwise supportive atmosphere, a constant, disquieting reminder of the inherent vulnerability accompanying heightened visibility, menacing the precarious tranquility and sense of community he had only recently cultivated within the cafe's warm, protective enclosure. The encouraging electronic correspondence from the independent label, Maverick Sounds, culminated in a formal meeting arranged in the city's bustling downtown district. Arthur Vance, a highly esteemed, veteran producer possessing sharp, discerning eyes and a palpable enthusiasm for authentic, unrefined artistry, conveyed genuine admiration not solely for the viral video, but also for Karen's subsequent live renditions at the cafe, which he had discreetly observed on multiple occasions without disclosing his professional identity. He spoke compellingly about Karen's evident artistic potential, about access to professional recording facilities, about the tangible prospect of connecting with a significantly broader, potentially national listenership through his unique sonic signature. This encapsulated the very essence of Karen's long-held aspirations for his musical journey. Vance specifically highlighted a major forthcoming city music showcase, a prestigious annual convergence renowned for catapulting emergent careers into prominence almost instantaneously. He expressed a strong desire for Karen to perform at this event, urging him to decisively seize this extraordinary juncture. The opportunity felt colossal, presenting a concrete pathway toward securing the substantial financial resources required for Lyra's critical medical intervention, and ultimately, validating his protracted years of unwavering devotion to his musical discipline. However, the attendant pressure escalated intensely, significantly compounded by Reese's persistent, malevolent psychological maneuvering. The showcase began to feel terrifyingly analogous to another high-stakes edition, exponentially magnified, the personal and professional ramifications higher than ever conceivable, resurrecting the paralyzing, visceral dread of failure he had mistakenly believed long buried and overcome. Lyra's precarious health status unfortunately experienced a sudden, significant deterioration. The attending physicians communicated with palpable gravity regarding the immediate necessity for a more aggressive, considerably costlier treatment regimen, underscoring the critical time sensitivity involved. This devastating prognosis struck Karen with the force of a physical impact, instantly honing his existing desperation into an acute razor-sharp edge. The impending showcase transcended the realm of personal artistic fulfillment. It now fundamentally concerned his cherished sister's life, hanging precariously in the immediate future. He immersed himself in relentless practice, pushing his physical and creative boundaries far beyond their accustomed limits. The resultant melodies imbued with a tangible new urgency, a raw, almost primal entreaty embedded within the very fabric of each note. Serafina provided constant, steadfast reinforcement, ensuring he maintained basic self-care like nutrition, listening with inexhaustible patience to his articulated fears and anxieties, gently yet firmly reminding him of the formidable inner fortitude she perceived within him. Nevertheless, Reese's ominous presence continued to cast a pervasive pall over everything. He initiated the dissemination of subtle yet damaging insinuations online, maliciously impugning Karen's artistic integrity, vaguely alluding to a fabricated, troubled history, deliberately attempting to contaminate the wellspring of public perception before Karen could benefit from it. The digital comment sections, previously a vital source of affirmation, now harbored sharp, wounding barbs that persistently pricked at Karen's deepest vulnerabilities, all meticulously orchestrated by his unseen, vindictive adversary who appeared resolutely committed to undermining him irrespective of the cost. The eagerly awaited evening of the showcase finally dawned, the venue vibrating with palpable electric tension and fervent anticipation emanating from both the assembled audience and influential industry figures. Within the backstage confines, the atmosphere crackled with the collective nervous energy of performers poised for their moment. Karen felt a familiar, nauseating constriction tighten painfully within his abdomen as his designated performance slot rapidly approached. He registered Reese across the densely populated room, effortlessly cultivating connections with individuals radiating professional importance, intermittently directing condescending, knowing smirks toward Karen. Mere moments preceding Karen's scheduled stage entrance, Reese deliberately intercepted him, affecting profound concern with practiced theatricality. He heard about your sister, Karen, a truly difficult situation. Are you absolutely certain you possess the fortitude for this tonight? One wouldn't desire a recurrence of past events, particularly with Arthur Vance scrutinizing your every nuance out there. The words were surgically precise, striking directly at the core of Karen's most profound, paralyzing insecurities. For one agonizing instant, Karen visibly faltered, the searing memory of his prior public humiliation resurfacing with suffocating vividness. He clutched his saxophone with fierce intensity, the instrument's cool, smooth metal providing a stark counterpoint to the sudden flush heating his face. An overwhelming impulse surged within him to retreat, to simply dissolve back into the comforting anonymity of the familiar underpass, where judgment emanated solely from the indifferent, sighing wind. He directed his gaze downward toward his saxophone, its polished brass exterior reflecting the harsh, unsparing glare of the utilitarian backstage illumination. His thoughts immediately converged upon Lyra's luminous smile, her unwavering, resolute faith in his abilities even during periods when his own self-belief faltered precipitously. He recalled Serafina's quiet, consistent bolstering, the embracing warmth of the cafe that had unexpectedly transformed into his sanctuary, the diverse countenances of the numerous individuals who had paused their own trajectories simply to listen, to genuinely absorb his musical expression. He contemplated the music itself, the potent intrinsic current that had served as his steadfast anchor through every encountered adversity and crushing disappointment. Reese's venomous taunts, the insidious susurrations of self-doubt reverberating within his psyche, the suffocating grip of fear, they ultimately constituted mere noise, meaningless interference disrupting the essential signal. The authentic, vital melody resided deep within his core, demanding urgent articulation, insisting upon being heard. Drawing a profound, centering breath that expanded his lungs fully, Karen deliberately met Reese's confrontational stare directly, his expression devoid of overt anger, replaced instead by a newly forged, steely resolve visibly hardening his features. I am absolutely certain, Reese, but I appreciate your expressed concern. He pivoted decisively, leaving Reese momentarily rendered speechless and visibly disconcerted, and strode purposefully toward the stage threshold, the familiar heft of his instrument now imbued with an entirely new sense of purpose, readiness, functioning simultaneously as a protective aegis and a potent symbol of his hard-won resilience. Advancing directly into the concentrated intensity of the spotlight's beam, Karen perceived an abrupt, expectant stillness descend completely upon the densely packed, cavernous performance hall. He could distinctly discern Arthur Vance observing attentively from the wings, and located Serafina, radiating immense pride from her position within the audience, her familiar visage serving as a crucial, stabilizing anchor amidst the overwhelming expanse of unfamiliar faces. Slowly raising the saxophone to his lips, he momentarily closed his eyes, effectively shutting out the external world, and then commenced playing. He performed not for the allure of a potential recording contract, nor for the anticipated adulation of the crowd, nor even as an act of defiance against Reese. He played singularly, unequivocally for Lyra. He played for his own intrinsic self, for his very survival. He channeled every quantum of his accumulated hardship, his fragile yet persistent hope, his gnawing apprehension, and his profound capacity for love directly into the torrent of sound emanating from his instrument. The notes ascended with potent force throughout the auditorium, imbued with a recently discovered power and astonishing lucidity he hadn't fully grasped possessing until that precise instant. The performance was raw, brutally candid, and deeply resonant emotionally. The intricate melody steadily unfolded, complex and ultimately cathartic, narrating his entire life's trajectory without recourse to verbal language. The stark isolation of the underpass, the unanticipated solace of the cafe, the unceasing anxiety concerning Lyra's condition, the painful reckoning with past failures, and finally, the defiant, inextinguishable luminescence of enduring hope. As the final sustained note gradually attenuated into absolute silence, a profound quietude hung suspended in the charged air for a single, protracted heartbeat before spontaneously erupting into thunderous, sustained applause that enveloped him like a powerful, purifying tidal wave, offering ultimate validation. The showcase performance constituted an undeniable, resounding personal and artistic victory for Karen. Arthur Vance approached him immediately following the set and formally extended a recording contract offer right then and there, articulating his admiration not solely for Karen's extraordinary musical prowess, but equally for the remarkable fortitude and integrity he had unequivocally demonstrated throughout his recent challenging experiences. The substantial financial advance stipulated within the contract proved more than sufficient to comfortably manage all of Lyra's requisite medical expenditures, instantaneously alleviating the crushing burden of monetary anxiety that had oppressed him for such an extended duration. Public awareness of his stunning performance, significantly amplified by the compelling narrative of his personal adversities and Reese's thwarted sabotage attempt, details Vance had discreetly corroborated after observing Reese's unprofessional backstage conduct, served only to intensify widespread support and burgeoning interest in his music. Karen elected to continue performing sporadically at the daily grind, motivated not by financial necessity any longer, but because the space genuinely felt like returning home. He commenced dedicated work on his debut album, his musical expression now infused with a quiet, hard-earned self-assurance. Lyra responded exceptionally well to the advanced treatment protocol, her characteristic infectious laughter gradually, but perceptibly regaining its former vibrancy with each passing day. Karen had courageously confronted his multifaceted demons, both internal and external, emerging not entirely unscarred, perhaps but demonstrably stronger, his future now resembling a beautifully realized composition finally articulated in a hopeful, uplifting major key, its resonant echoes extending far beyond the confining concrete walls of the solitary city underpass, where his arduous journey initially commenced.